Good morning. Eduardo shared that introduction with me earlier, and I asked him to not say illustrious. I feel like that's something only my mom says about me. For sure, only my mom. I'm honored to be here with you today at the conference and have been excited about this opportunity to share with you and to learn from you. When I was baptized at the age of 8 at Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist Church, I had no idea I'd end up becoming an Episcopal priest who speaks at conferences. No idea. At that age, I wanted to go to law school and then become President of the United States. But sacraments have a tricky tendency to take us down unanticipated roads, to launch us into the unknown, into mystery. I especially found this to be the case on a scorching summer Saturday in 2014. A few days before, I had half-jokingly tweeted, quote, "How can I get to Ferguson, Missouri? I think it's time to go," end quote. C. Michael Brown had been killed by Officer Darren Wilson less than 2 weeks before, and because of that, I found myself in an existential tailspin, a theological crisis, a dizzying theodicy, if you will. And to compound the intensity of these emotions, it was also my final year of seminary. Much to my surprise, that half-joking, haphazard tweet was responded to in just 2 minutes. This person said, "Leaving from DC, right?" Including this tweet with a link, included with this tweet was a link to an Eventbrite page offering details on a last-minute pilgrimage planned by a Howard University PhD student named Lauren Allen. I checked the link and found out the bus was leaving the next day, Friday, and we would be in Ferguson for about 12 hours on that Saturday and return that evening. 14 hours on the road, 12 hours there, and another 14 hours back. 14, 12, 14. A 40-hour trip with 12 hours on the ground. Absurd, yes, but I was a seminarian. So a few more sleep-deprived days wouldn't hurt, I thought. I would also like to add that I was 24, so my frontal lobe was not yet fully developed, which is also why I did not tell my parents I had been to Ferguson until after I returned in one piece. Just weeks before this, my friend Carlos sent me this excerpt from Rowan Williams' then new book, Being Christian, quote, "To be able to say, 'I'm baptized,' is not to claim an extra dignity, but to claim a new level of solidarity with other people. To be a Christian is to be affected, you might even say contaminated, by the mess of humanity. This is very paradoxical. Baptism is a ceremony in which we are washed, cleansed, and recreated. It is also a ceremony in which we are pushed into the middle of a human situation that may hurt us," end quote. And paradoxical this sacrament is. On one hand, it washes us, and on the other, it besmirches us, drawing us into the depths of human experience. When I stepped off the bus in Ferguson, I was curious about what I'd see, who I'd meet, how I'd feel, what I'd smell. I had heard so many conflicting reports on major outlets that I wanted to experience the St. Louis suburb for myself. And this was brought home by a conversation I had with a woman on Florissant Road, the epicenter of much of the social unrest. I asked her how long she had been protesting and how long she planned on staying out in the streets. Until our voices are heard and justice is done, she said. Until our voices are heard and justice is done. Unlike media reports more occupied with a burning CVS than the unattended body of Michael Brown, media reports that depicted the Black people of Ferguson as reckless outlaws instead of resilient insurgents, this woman was led by an internal compass of justice fixed on the true north of an equitable future. A future free of the lethal ravages of state-sanctioned white supremacy, of laws and practices that objectify and imprison the bodies of Black people, of racist ideologies shipped here on the very boat that brought the first Africans to this continent in 1619. Where might you expect to find the baptized? In the neighborhood of chaos, answers Rowan Williams. It means you might expect to find Christian people near to those places where humanity is most at risk, where humanity is most disordered, disfigured, and needy. Christians will be found in the neighborhood of Jesus, but Jesus is found in the neighborhood of human confusion and suffering, defenselessly alongside those in need, end quote. Archbishop Williams's assertion leads me to believe that the impulse to visit Ferguson can be attributed to something more than an unfinished 24-year-old frontal lobe. It can be attributed to a baptismal impulse, a sacramental impulse that acknowledges the holiness of the cosmos and the holiness of Black lives, the holiness of the universe, and the holiness of queer and transgender teens surviving through sex work on the streets of our cities, the holiness of the vast expanse of interstellar space, and the holiness of the particularity of a people who hold within their bodies transatlantic trauma. Baptism, therefore, is not so much a get-out-of-jail-free card as it is the ticket that puts us in jail in the first place. The church is at its best when it is asking itself and God, where might you expect to find the baptized? In those places of deep pain and suffering, in those places of trauma and woundedness, where might you expect to find the baptized? In those places of confusion, of chaos, of catastrophe, bearing witness to the complexity of human experience. Where might you expect to find the baptized? On the streets of Baltimore and Ferguson and Flint and Memphis. Where might you expect to find the baptized? On the doorsteps of district attorneys, demanding, like that woman I met in Ferguson, that justice be done. Where might you expect to find the baptized? On the streets of Flint, Michigan, a majority black city where widespread lead poisoning is the result of a racist system in which the bottom line is more important than black people. On the streets of my own Memphis, Tennessee, where just yesterday, Jonathan Bratcher, a 32-year-old unarmed black person, was executed by law enforcement officers while running away from them. Where are the baptized? On those streets, on those doorsteps, in the lives of the neglected and abused, not necessarily leading, but being led, not necessarily teaching, but being taught. Where are the baptized? Show me where the waters of the Jordan River have been muddied, and I will show you. Thank you.
Amen.